苦音号よりこの世まで憐れみ増します印には、仏地不思議につけしめて、全幕上へもなかりけりと。As the mark of his compassionate care, from innumerable kalpas in the past down to the present, we have now been brought to accord with inconceivable Buddha wisdom, going beyond good and evil, pure and defiled. Today we are quoting a wasan that is found in the Shozo Matsu Wasan collection written by Shinran Shonin. In this particular wasan, Shinran Shonin is talking to us about how we have always been in the process of being saved. And how we come to know that we have been saved is through finding ourselves within the inconceivable wisdom of the Buddha that transcends good and evil, pure and defiled. What does it mean to say that we are in the process of being saved? To use an analogy, it is as if we are drowning in the middle of a lake and we are in the arms of the lifeguard. Because we are already in the arms of the lifeguard, we are not going to drown. However, as long as we continue to struggle, as long as we do not recognize that the lifeguard is there, even while there is no fear of our drowning, we are still caught in this fear of thinking that I am going to drown. In the grasp of the lifeguard, we are being kept from drowning, but we are not actually saved until we are able to recognize that we have been grasped, that we will not drown. It is when we are able to do that we are able to calm down and to say thank you to the lifeguard for saving us. In talking about how we are in the stream of being saved, although I've shared this story before, it is especially meaningful to me now because my teacher recently passed away. And these memories are more vivid now because I know that there is no possibility of my ever asking him these questions directly again. But in hearing of his going to the Pure Land, these lessons that he gave to me are even more clear in my mind. It is the story of how I would always ride the bus with him to the larger campus. And the bus ride was about 15 minutes long, and I would always be lucky enough to sit beside him and ask him questions while we were en route to the other campus. During the first 3-4 months, I would always ask him the same question. I would ask him, how do you know that you have Shinjin? And he began to answer my question by saying, don't worry about it. It's not that important. And I would leave it at that and ask him other questions. But when the next day came and I sat beside him on the bus again, I would ask him the same question. How do you know if you have Shinjin? And then he would say something like, didn't I just tell you the other day that it's not that important? You don't have to worry about it? And I said, well, okay. And I would lead it aside. But then the next day I would ask him the same question again. And by this time he was getting a little upset at me. And he said, I told you it's not that important. Why do you keep asking me this question when I tell you that you don't have to worry about this? And I said, well, but isn't Shinjin important? And he said, okay, tell me why. He says, well, Shinran Shonin's teaching basically says that Shinjin is the true cause of birth in the Pure Land. And through birth in the Pure Land, one becomes a Buddha. And he said, yeah, okay. He goes, well, but so if you want to be born in the Pure Land, don't you need Shinjin, faith? And then he looked at me, kind of disappointed, and said, why are you even here? He says, I don't know, I wanted to come to study Jodo Shinshu. He goes, no, why are you here? How did you even know to come to Ryukoku University? And I said, well, I grew up at the temple. I was introduced to Jodo Shinshu. In my interest in studying Jodo Shinshu further, I was introduced to Ryukoku University. And then that's the place that I wanted to go. And he said, yeah, so how did you get here? He goes, well, I applied, I got scholarships. And that's when he smiled and he said, all this happened by accident? And I looked at him and I thought, Kuongo yori kono yo made. From the numerous kalpas in the past down to the present, awarimi mashimasu shirushi ni wa. As the mark of his compassionate care, all the things that we experienced in our lives that brought us to this moment of hearing Namo Amida Butsu was not by accident. We have been led to these teachings, things that move us step by step, things that make us look in this direction, that help us to think, maybe I do want to understand Jodo Shinshu Buddhism a little more than I thought. Maybe I will go to the temple. But in having this thought, there had to be a temple in the first place. All of these things have been arranged just so that we might be able to hear of the inconceivable wisdom of a Buddha that lets us know that my life right here, right now, is not only affirmed, but has also been guided to be able to be in a place where we most especially need to be. All we have to do is to open our eyes and to see that we are already firmly in the embrace of the lifeguard, that we are already firmly in the embrace of the vow, that we are already within the calling voice of Namo Amida Butsu.